Raven Cave or Kruber Cave. For the first time, the Raven Cave was discovered by a detachment from the Bagration Georgian Geophysical Institute in 1960. Then they descended only 95 meters and probably could not have imagined that the descendants would fall below the mark in 60 years. 2 kilometers deep underground. So deep that it ended up being below the deepest mark in the Black Sea. Guys, there's a reason I included it again in the list of incredible caves of Kruber. Crow Cave, because I learned new information today. It turns out that this fantastic result of the descent of a person into the depths of the earth has already been beaten twice, and the record holders have again become caves in Abkhazia. In fact, the people who go down there, into the depths of the earth, are pioneers. In the 2017 year, the expedition was able to set off into the Verevkin Cave, also in Abkhazia, at 2,204 meters, and thereby broke the record of the Kruber Cave, which I told you about in the last video. A year later, the figure was increased to 2,212 meters, when a paleologist managed to measure the depth of the lake at the bottom of the cave. In other words, I brought you the result in the last video. It has already been beaten twice, and it is below the depth of sea level. I don't know if you understood me or not, but no one knows the final depth of these caves. Yes, there are many of them. For there is no way they can reach the bottom. The deeper, the harder. We need deep-sea equipment, special equipment, powerful winches, a bathyscaphe. Well, I think they'll figure it out without me. Imagine, from this cave, you can make an amazing bunker 3 times longer than the Burj Khalifa Tower in Dubai. And then there are huge resources, I mean in depth. And at an approximate depth of 2,200 meters, there is a resource. This is water, that is, the bunker is perfect. Do you remember about the artful clouds of the last video? So, a little more about this cave. The fact is that this cave that you are watching now is not a crow cave, although I just told the information in the last video. Under this photo, that it is a Kruber or a crow cave. It turns out not. But many sites say exactly that. I found information from one site. I'm going to read it to you quickly now. I'll leave a link under the video. So, this is the work of a photographer from Geographic, Stephen Alvarez. In fact, Stephen Alvarez was in the Voronezh Circle, participated in the Call of the Abyss expedition. As a photographer from American Geographic, apparently, the person who first started spreading false information knew about Alvarez's trip to Kara Voronia and stole photos from him, not realizing that he was also in many other caves located far beyond Abkhazia. Well, that's what the author of the article thinks, but it's not particularly important because this photo is real. Is there such a cave? This is Allison's Cave. It is located in the northwestern part of the state of Georgia. Photo by Stephen Alvarez. It is only the 12th among the deepest caves in the United States, but it has the deepest vertical freefall well without ledges in the continental United States, which is called the Fantastic Well. It is 179 meters deep. He is depicted in the photo. So here is the depth of the cave itself, which you are now seeing, 324 meters, a length of 19 kilometers. Due to the technically complex and dangerous nature of the cave, only the most experienced and capable cavers are engaged in its research. We must pay tribute to the pictures. They are amazing, really a fantastic well of the USA. I take my hat off to Alvarez. Amazing photo. The second, or rather the third cave, which I would like to mention, is located in the Urals. This particular Atlantean move deserves special attention. As I read on one of the sites, the height of this underground corridor incredibly reaches 120 meters, but it really looks like a huge entrance of giants. But now, guys, I warn you, this is not Photoshop. This cave was found in the Mexican desert at a depth of 300 meters under the Nike mines. But first, another cave was opened above it, called the Cave of Swords. In 1910th year, at a depth of 120 meters, filled with meter-long beautiful light crystals. That's probably why it was called that. And already under it, in the 2000th year, a new cave was opened, called the Cave of Crystals. At least I would call it the Cave of Royal Crystals, because it is famous for giant crystals of the mineral selenite. Structural varieties of gypsum. The largest of the crystals found has a size, attention, 11 meters long and 4 meters wide, with a mass of 55 tons. These are the largest natural crystals ever found on the planet. The cave is also known for its unusual climate. It's very hot here. The temperature reaches 58 degrees with almost 100% humidity, which makes it very difficult to explore the cave accordingly. Even with equipment, staying in the cave usually does not exceed 20 to 30 minutes. That's it, the man can't stand it. Unfortunately, access to the cave is open only to scientists. Miracles and only an incredible cave, of course, agree. I had no idea that there could be crystals like this. They're just gigantic, huge. What was it like in previous civilizations? I think the shape of the view has changed. This is my opinion. So that's it. But I want to show you this photo. Pay attention, here people of defenseless equipment. Equipment just stand in helmets, yellow suits. And no gloves, no masks, there is nothing. But in another photo, we see that a special suit with oxygen, and blah blah blah. Why so? Why are we told that the conditions there are unbearable when we see such photos? Perhaps it was invented so that outsiders would not get there, only for specialists. Perhaps something else has been discovered there that we cannot know. But as we can see from this photo, people are defenseless equipment. Although others are all wearing protective gear. It is possible to take a clean photo for a short time, then abruptly put on your costumes. This is also possible. That is, the mysterious Cave of Crystals is without a doubt one of the coolest caves, maybe the coolest, because. But 11-meter crystals are an incredible sight, of course. I imagine how it all looks live. The next cave is notable not for its size, but for its color, a marble cathedral. This is what the locals call this natural monument. Geographically located on the continent of South America between Chile and Argentina, in the Vendes of Patagonia, that is. The cave is located on the territory of two countries. This is remarkable. Look at these amazing caves. According to the research of scientists, an unusual formation, presented in the form of numerous tunnels and columns, was formed as a result of the impact of waves. To be honest, I don't understand what the waves have to do with the color of the cave. Although, in fact, the walls of the cave labyrinth are not made of marble, but of limestone. However, in the range of colors of numerous grottos of various shapes and sizes, penetrating the rock of the peninsula. Bluish shades prevail, which is very impressively displayed in the turquoise water of a high-altitude lake. There is evidence that some caves, remote from human eyes, still consist of natural marble. But no one has managed to get to these underwater deposits yet. No one has managed to get to them yet. To be honest, I don't know how the waves affect the color, but I can stick to the shape. Water, as they say, sharpens a stone. And here's the light. So, on the topic, there are a lot of unnatural natural formations, in quotes, in the world. Let's remember Mount Uluru. It is rightfully considered one of the main natural attractions of Australia. It is located in the very center of the continent, in the middle of an endless desert, a lifeless desert. And it seems to me that before, in previous civilizations, some real technocratic game was going on there. So, officially it was formed 600 million years ago, on the site of the dried-up Lake Amadeus. There was an island in the center of this lake. Over time, it began to collapse, its parts fell to the bottom, and after a certain period of time, Mount Uluru was formed. This is the official version, very entertaining enough. It's not much different from the world that stands on a turtle. That's not much. I mean, you get it right. There was an island in the center of this lake, and over time, it began to collapse. What does the light have to do with it? That's exactly the form. Well, somehow everything is unclear, unnatural. A very interesting, incredible, amazing version. It was formed 600 million years ago. And what's not a billion? People live only 100 years, but they know what happened 600 million years ago. Unbelievable, right? And now attention is officially why. It consists of coarse-grained sandstone, quartz, spar and iron oxide are also present in it, interestingly. giving the monolithic rock such a rusty hue. From a distance, Uluru resembles a stone with a smooth surface, but, being near it, cracks and irregularities are clearly visible. They are formed due to hurricanes and sudden temperature changes. During the day, the temperature in the desert can reach up to 38 degrees, and at night, it drops significantly. With strong heating, the stone expands, and when cooled it contracts, which causes cracks. In length, Mount Uluru stretches for 3 and 6 kilometers, 3 kilometers wide, and the height reaches 348 meters. A huge monolith, like an iceberg, goes deep into the earth for 6 kilometers. How did you find out? Kilometers. To be honest, it's not clear to me what kind of research was carried out, because I don't think any wells were drilled. I don't know how they found out, but there is such information. The red sandstone that makes up the rock has unique properties of changing its color depending on the time of day. Early in the morning, with the appearance of the first rays of the sun, the silhouette of Uluru turns purple dark. Closer to noon, the color of the mountain changes. At first it appears in purple-red tones, then in pink, and in the afternoon, it acquires a golden hue. In the evening, the sun goes down, the mountain remains in dark colors until the morning. It's amazing how this happens. What kind of tricks of nature? And I think it's unnatural for nature. And you will understand why further. 50 kilometers from Uluru, there is an equally interesting Mount Olga, named after the wife of the Württemberg King Charles I, Princess Olga. She was the daughter of Russian Tsar Nicholas I. In the language of the local Aborigines, this mountain is called Katatuta, which means many heads. Some scientists deny that Uluru is a monolith. According to their version, it connects with Mount Olga deep underground. So, and now my version, what is it all about? I think it's a waste heap. Don't you believe it? Well, let me show you some photos now. This is the Lugansk landfill. It is colored and looks like a mountain of natural origin. In 1,000 years, and perhaps sooner, there will be a monument of nature. Here are some more photos, by the way. Notice how similar they all are. Imagine that at least 500 years have passed, numerous rains, winds, that is, slightly modify all this. And we see that this is a natural monument. What about the Pink Lakes? Here's Lake Hiller, of course. Of course, also in Australia. At one time, this continent, although it may have been a different shape and size, I think Australia could also be modified. We have worked out so well, pumped out everything that is possible, and now we are observing a beautiful lake. You just don't understand why the fuck it's pink. By the way, there are such lakes in Senegal and in other countries. Natural resources. For example, these are no longer natural pink lakes. By the way, in Australia they have not yet determined why the lake is pink. And these are photos from the most beautiful China, which, like locusts, destroys the Earth's natural resources at triple speed. That is, if ordinary countries are somehow more or less like this, because there are a lot of people in China, although, as I believe, not 1.5 billion, resources are simply being pumped out there at cosmic speed. Some plants emit sewage and chemical waste directly into the river, from which the water in these rivers acquires unreal colors like this, the same color of a rose. Here is one in one, that is, they are no different. I emphasize that in some lakes the water can change color due to algae and salts. That is, there is such a similar lake here, as if in Germany, and it seems that scientists have found out that algae and salts change to color. Perhaps I'm not arguing, but here, please, are some of the facts given to you. Moreover, there are no such similar algae in Australia. In Australia, they did not determine why it is pink, and this is already a pink river in India. And there is no need to determine it. Pollution by factories and factories. One of the world's largest Ganges rivers is systematically polluted by chemical waste. Moreover, in huge cities and villages there is no sewerage, terrible unsanitary conditions reign. When the water rises, the contents of the garbage and sewage are sent straight into the river. So much for the colors. And in the end, the river is considered sacred. Sacred. Funeral ceremonies take place on the shore. At the beginning, the deceased is washed, then he is put on some kind of pedestal, the water is burned. The ashes develop over the river. Well, I saw that the bodies went straight to the water, and were already burned in the water, you know. Adults and children bathe right there, people drink water from the Ganges. After such procedures, the population suffers from all kinds of diseases. Scientists have studied the composition of the water of the sacred river. It turned out that it was no longer water, but a mixture of feces, chemicals, and other poison. This is the sacred Ganges River. And how do you like such colorful whale mountains? Today, tourists from all over the world come to the Chinese province of Gansu to admire the local unusual landscapes like this. The main local attraction, of course, is a unique geological formation. Stop. Geological formation. Let's find a similar landfill. This is of course small, but the post noise is suitable. It can be seen that in the past a factory in China produced something similar. But not only China can boast of such unusual landscapes. Such hills are also common in Australia, of course, South America, and Central Europe. But none of the countries can compete with China in the number of amazing hills. It can be seen in China in the past, there were many factories like now. And how do you like it? Monte Kali is the world's largest mountain of table salt. In the future, it may be called the Great White Mountain, and perhaps even pilgrims will come. This mountain contains nothing but sodium chloride or table salt, which is a byproduct of potash mining. By the way, the locals call this mountain Kilimanjaro. But the White Mountain is completely artificial, collected due to the gatherings of chemical production, too. Is located in the Moscow region and is already attracting the attention of visitors. Even the grass began to grow. Well, in 100 years, there will also be a unique White Mountain. But I digress a little. You probably understand the meaning of my thoughts. Either people were settled in territories already used many times, or people themselves, in the process of changeability. Changeability by civilization, and being very parasitic, consumer-like to the environment, very much modified the Earth. By the way, there is a rather interesting film called Shorter. This is a fantastic story about an unexpected solution to the problem of overpopulation of the planet. Allegedly, some Norwegian scientists are coming up with a technology to reduce people, thanks to which in 200 years, the whole world can be made miniature. Perhaps once there were more people or creatures inhabiting our Earth. So at the end of the film, they reduced themselves and actually waited for the great apocalypse. Since they were very big at the beginning, they were able to make a huge bunker. Create all the technologies for a comfortable life in this very bunker. Accordingly, stocking up on food for the future. Because you understand, the problems of introduction are when you are very small, 10 times smaller than an ordinary person. It's quite an interesting, fantastic version, yes, if there were giants on our territory before. And then for some reason we decreased. Of course, it is unlikely that such technologies are available to a person, or were available to a person, although who knows, yes. But perhaps by some superbeing to observers. There is also a hypothesis that relates more to the theory of the contact field. So, they reduced just people and continued to observe. So, I turn back to the caves. Walter Scott, about the Fingal Cave. Yes, that's what it's called, Fingal's Cave. One of the most extraordinary places that I was lucky enough to contemplate. The sight of her is like everything I've ever heard about her. The cave consists entirely of basalt pillars equal to the height of the cathedral vault, going deep into the rock, and washed by deep-sea swells from time immemorial, as if paved with scarlet marble. It defies description in words. As we can observe, these are the same formations as the Devil's Mountain. Once in the comments, one person asked a question. If we imagine, according to the well-known hypothesis, that there were supposedly huge kilometer-long trees, then where are the roots of these trees? And here are the roots, these are caves. A fabulous version, of course, I understand. By the way, not far from the Fingal Cave in Northern Ireland, there is a similar natural monument, the Pavement of Giants. And here we also see hexahedral, octahedral, and polyhedral columns. This is the riddle of the century without a doubt. Well, guys, I had a few questions in the comments. And where in general is this real cave of the rope on the Carbera? The Crow Cave, these are actually different caves. Verovkina is the deepest cave in the world today. That is, they have already reached the water surface. It's 2,212 meters deep, it seems, or 14 meters, it doesn't matter. There is already a report going on for a few meters because it is difficult to study further water. Here is a photo of the Kruber Raven Cave. I didn't find Verevkin's
Там уже
cave.
идет отчет на считанные
There were
метры,
also
потому что
questions
дальше
about whether the
сложно
cave
изучать
looks like a
вода.
structure, like the
Вот
fibers of a tree.
фотография пещеры Крубера в Вороне.
See for yourself.
Пещера
It's quite an interesting structure, as if, you know, they worked with a drill. Look. Let me zoom in. Now we will increase it. I don't know what it looks like, but it looks great. That is, if you go down there, pay attention, there is darkness and only the light of a flashlight. Depth. Probably, whatever the speleology, the deeper you dive, the scarier it is. Imagine, below the level of the Black Sea, the deepest point is a cave. This is the most grandiose cave to date. What other caves do we have today? This is, please, artificial. Here, pay attention, let's compare. This artificial cave is clearly how potassium minerals are extracted. Let's see if it looks like it. Well, there is some kind of coincidence, guys, there are certain coincidences. In other words, is it possible that a cave of artificial origin is one of the versions? Here you are, what kind of cave is this? And the second version of the cave is a rhizome, the roots of the former huge trees several kilometers high. Who doesn't understand what I'm talking about? Look at the original Asgard website. Everything is told beautifully there. So that's where I'm going to end.